I was in my shop around 6:30 p.m. They just went out and started shooting up, saying Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. So people are scaring, running everywhere.
And we saw a lot of dead bodies on the streets because they shot some, they slaughtered some. It was just all over the place on the floor. They were pulling girls out, raping them, beating them up.
They asked them again 3 times that are they for Christ Jesus? They say yes, they are for Christ Jesus. So they shoot them with their gun.
The whole of our village were burned down. My family were burned into ashes, 8 of them, the 4 children, and my wife and my mother, my father.
Then suddenly we just saw Fulani herdsmen. As they invaded the village, they were shooting and burning houses.
Suddenly we heard a boom, and before we knew it, it was our church that was bombed.
I lost everything, my house, my business, everything now is belong to them.
I have no shelter. Likewise, my children has nowhere and no school.
Nigeria is a land of contradiction. Africa's most populous country is considered to be a rising economic and political power on the continent. However, Nigeria, a colonial construct of the early 20th century, is also struggling with its international identity and domestic priorities as it battles severe corruption and a worsening Islamic terrorism problem. In April of 2014, Nigeria's fight against Islamic terrorism made international headlines when the militant Islamic group Boko Haram abducted 280 schoolgirls from Chibok, a village in northern Nigeria. While some of the girls have been saved, this blip on the international news radar is only one of what have become daily reminders of Nigeria's religious violence. A deeply spiritual nation, Nigeria is the largest country in the world with roughly an equal number of Muslims and Christians. While Christians are a majority in the oil-rich southern half of the country, Muslims dominate the north. Recently, Nigeria became Africa's largest economy. Because of its position as a leader in the African and worldwide economy, economic development has been at the forefront of the government's agenda. During this same period of time, Nigeria has experienced a steep increase in Islamic terrorism. Specifically, violence against Christians has made Nigeria one of the most dangerous places to be a Christian in the entire world. In 2012, 70% of Christians worldwide who were killed for their faith were killed in northern Nigeria. Since 2002, Boko Haram, an Islamist movement that seeks to establish Sharia law through an Islamic caliphate in Nigeria, has terrorized the country's Christian population. Other groups associated with Islamic terrorism in Nigeria, such as the Fulani herdsmen, the largest nomadic tribe in the world, have also regularly attacked Christians and burned down their villages. Consequently, a religious cleansing has been taking place in northern Nigeria through bombings of churches, schools, and homes, as well as roadside attacks, abductions, rapes, and individual murders. Boko Haram's reign of terror has made living as a Christian virtually impossible in certain areas of the country. It is estimated that well over 100 Christians are killed every month in Nigeria. On top of that, millions of refugees and IDPs, internally displaced people, have lost their homes, jobs, and families because of the violence. Because much of Boko Haram's violence has taken place in northern Nigeria, many Christians have fled to the closest reasonably safe location available, neighboring Niger, Chad, and Cameroon. Unfortunately, they are some of the poorest countries in the world and are thus ill-equipped to deal with a refugee crisis. Well over 200,000 refugees have spilled into Cameroon alone. Camps set up by the United Nations have also failed to provide either suitable protection or the basic resources needed for these refugees to survive.
Way back in Nigeria, I work in Abuja. I work with the National Assembly. I am a domestic aid to one honorable.
Jonathan became a refugee in Cameroon when his village in northeast Nigeria was attacked by Boko Haram.
Many of our brothers been killed. Some of our houses were destroyed, our fellow brothers. Some lost their aunts, daughters, children, parents, and so many other things. So we are able to, to escape the attack of the Boko Haram boys. So we cross to the border where we have an assistance from the UNHCR. They give us a helping hand and they convert us to the camp here in Minawao. The life in the camp is never easy. Many people were being crowded in a big shelter where in a room you find up to 70 to 80 people.
A lack of resources, such as food and medicine, is a constant problem in the camp.
Because normally they usually give us food for 30 days, that is 1 month. But along the line, we find ourselves, we spend the month and then they came and said, there's no food in the store, we have to wait for PAM to bring in the food. So we've been waiting patiently for the food. Today is 49 days.
Beyond the hundreds of thousands of refugees outside of Nigeria, there are more than 1 million displaced people within the country. Central and southern cities and villages have been forced to address an influx of Christians escaping Boko Haram's blood trail, who often flee with nothing but the clothes on their backs. One particularly vulnerable group of displaced persons are orphans of the victims of Boko Haram and other Islamic terrorists, as well as individuals and families who have converted to Christianity from Islam. Despite the risks and lack of resources, some are finding ways to make a difference for those who need it most.
I came from Taraba State. I was 50 years just on Sunday, last Sunday. I came to Christ the year 1999.
And what were you before?
I was a Muslim. I'm Fulani by tribe.
Aisatu's personal struggle motivates the work she does today. After converting to Christianity, she was severely beaten by both her father and husband before being kicked out of her home in northern Nigeria. Her 2 children were taken from her and sent to Saudi Arabia. Eventually, Aisatu made her way to central Nigeria and received a calling to help those who have suffered in a similar way.
God said, I allowed you to go through all these things so that you can be a mother to all the persecuted. I said, okay. So when we found out that many people are killed because of Christ in this nation, and some people who are in the far north, their children who are Christian, their children are not given the chance to go to school because of their religion. I said, God, what do I do? He said, that is why I told you are a mother to all. I don't want to see children who lost their parents for the name of Christ to go about without school, because most of the street children, you see, they are children that are orphans. These are the children that are affected much.
Despite living day to day, Aisatu and her supporters have built an orphanage in central Nigeria that now houses over 100 women and children. Here, families are able to learn, pray, play, and live freely and safely.
How long have you been here?
It's 4 months now.
I see. And how do you like it here?
I like this place very well because I learn more about God. I think when I go outside, sometimes I think some people will kill me.
So when you're inside here, how do you feel?
So I feel, because I feel that I know it's only God protect me to keep me there.
I see. Okay. So you feel safe?
I feel safe.
While efforts are being made nationally and internationally to both stop the spread of Boko Haram and extremist Islam and to help the millions affected by the violence, so much more needs to be done. On one hand, there are many courageous Christians willing to die for their faith, and many Nigerian Christians who have risked everything to help the persecuted. But on the other, there are very few large-scale efforts being aggressively pursued, either by Christians in resource-rich southern Nigeria, the Nigerian government, or the international community.
I wanted, if I am being given the opportunity to live like a normal man in the world, where I can cater for myself and my family, send my children to school, get the best education they can get, and then we'll find a very conducive environment where my family and I can live. That is my goal.
Until others heed the call to prayer and action, individuals such as Aissatou will continue bravely working to help the persecuted day to day and person by person.
When I go out and come out, you see how they are trooping. This one, granny, grandma, oh, mommy, and I feel so glad. I feel so happy.